So this is my issue, and I totally understand why people, my patients in particular, are thoroughly confused. In fact, I just received a comment this morning on my Facebook page from a person who said, "I'm thoroughly confused, and I even met with two nutritionists or a nutritionist." So here, and I understand.
Well, let's tell this person, maybe they're listening. If you can admit that you're thoroughly confused, you're much less confused than most people, because
True.
most people are so confused, they don't even know what they don't even know.
Ooh, that's a paper. I bet Bart can think of a million things to do with these. That just leaves little Maggie. Oh,
Oh, you're ahead of the game.
Right.
Congratulations.
But here's the issue. The issue is, look, we have really smart people with great credentials who are adamant about a certain way of eating or a diet, and they will use data, mostly meta-analysis, to back up their points. They kind of cherry pick. And
Right.
these are smart people. These are not people just putting up a YouTube channel in their basement. These are people who have PhDs, advanced degrees, and they've been doing this. They've written books, etc. So what's going on? Where does the madness end?
Yeah. Well, Dave, when we were chatting before you hit record, you kindly mentioned my book, How to Eat with Mark Bittman, who, by the way, as we're having this conversation, just wrote a fantastic op-ed in the New York Times about what we need our Secretary of Agriculture to be and do. The book that I wrote before that is entitled The Truth About Food, Why Pandas Eat Bamboo and People Get Bamboozled. And that's my magnum opus. It's a 750-page doorstop. I hasten to note all profits from The Truth About Food go to support the True Health Initiative, which I'll talk about in a second. But the book is actually structured in sections about truth and lies. And then I note that with regard to lies, there are three kinds of lies. This quote, I think, is attributed to Benjamin Disraeli originally. Lies, damned lies, and statistics. So the statistics are what you're talking about. Sure, you can cherry pick the research that you aggregate, put it all into a meta-analysis that reaches a foregone conclusion, namely the one you wanted to reach. So, garbage in, garbage out. Easily done. Very smart people who want to tell a particular story can use data to tell that story. So, I wrestled with all of that in The Truth About Food. How is it done? Why is it done? How can you see through it? What are the fallacies? What are the distortions? And so, I've spent a lot of time working on that. But I've also thought a lot about what is the remedy. And the remedy, I think, is demonstrating to people like this confused individual that actually, when you hand an expert the microphone, and you hit record, and you're on TV, or you have the opportunity to tell the world, look at me now, here's why I'm special, you're going to talk about whatever it is that makes you special. So you're not going to say, actually, my opinion about sensible nutrition is the same as everybody else who knows what they're talking about. Thank you and good night. I mean, you're just never going to be invited back. It's too boring. It's very vanilla, right? So what you're going to say is, okay, let me tell you about my special work and why my particular contribution is so much greater than anybody else's. So it's just hard to resist that. That's what everybody tends to do. If you stop recording, take away the microphone, say, okay, instead of asking you what diet do you think is the best, because you're going to say whatever diet you've spent your career studying. If you've been studying low-fat vegan, you're going to say low-fat vegan. If you've been studying the Mediterranean diet, you're going to say Mediterranean. If you have been studying the Okinawan diet, you're going to say I get that. Okay, fine. Could you tell me what you think the principles are of a fundamentally healthful, sustainable diet? What are the top tier principles? Would you agree that, as Michael Pollan put it, it should be real food, not too much, mostly plants? Those 7 words, some embellishment of that. So a diet that's mostly made up of minimally processed vegetables, fruits, whole grains, beans, lentils, nuts, and seeds, and that most people most of the time should mostly drink plain water when thirsty. Do you agree with all of that? Because I haven't said anything about high fat, low fat, high carb, low carb, just and I haven't said anything about the inclusion or exclusion of any meat or any poultry or any fish or any eggs or any dairy. I've just said, we can agree that good sustainable diets for the basic care and feeding of Homo sapiens should mostly be made up of minimally processed vegetables, fruits, grains, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, and water. Any major objections? Well, you find very, very few. And I know this because it's a hypothesis I've tested. So years ago, when I was president of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, I wanted to do something that would outlive my tenure. and I created a nonprofit organization called the True Health Initiative. And I tested this very hypothesis. So I contacted people like Dean Ornish and said, would you be willing to stand up in public and be counted saying, leaving aside your diet and the diet you like best or think is best, that in general, the basic principles of an optimal diet for sustainably taking good care of Homo sapiens and, by the way, the planet that they live on is this. And then Frank Hugh at Harvard, currently the chair of nutrition at Harvard, who is a Mediterranean diet advocate. Frank, would you stand up and be counted saying the same? And what about the experts in the paleo diet? And what about the experts in pescatarian and flexitarian and DASH? And well, the bottom line here is yes, pretty much every time. So our council of directors at the True Health Initiative, and Dave, if you're not listed there, you should be. We have over 500 world-leading experts on diet and lifestyle as medicine from 45 countries, and they range literally in their own practices from paleo and low carb to whole food, plant exclusive, vegan, low fat, and everything in between. But they've all agreed, yes, the fundamental principles, which by the way are 95% of the formula, we all agree with one another. The thing is, give us a microphone, hit record, we're only going to talk about the 5%. So that's the distortion. I'm going to give you the 5% that makes me different and special and tell you why my way is the best way. But the reality is 95% of what I'm saying overlaps with what everybody else is saying. And if the general public would just focus on the 95%, the 5%, which is all just variations on a common theme, hardly matters anyway.
Yeah.
That's the reality that's been overlooked. So learn more about that at truehealthinitiative.org. That's what we're all about, is to represent the science, the sense, and the global expert consensus. It's just not true. It's urban legend that no two nutrition experts agree about anything. We just sound like we disagree, even when we mostly agree.